Well, hello my beautiful people. Welcome back to my channel if you're returning, and if you are new, welcome to you as well. This is Christine, your DIY craftaholic. This video is a part of Just Our Imagination, and I have 2 DIYs for you today, so let's jump in and see what I got. Now, my imagination using a Dollar Tree fence, because this is one of the challenged items. I'm going to be using this fence. So I actually had this in my stash. So when we were told that fence is one of the items we needed to use, I was happy. I didn't have to go out and get one. So here I'm just removing the stakes from the fence. I'm basically going to cut this down. And you can use a scissors, you can use a wire cutter, you can use any sharp cutting implement to remove this, because the plastic is very thin. So I separated the panels and I have 4 pieces. Now here I was just trying to see how it would look if I just connected back those 2 pieces. But that was just a show. So now I'm removing the top pieces. And guys, as I was doing this, I had my idea what I was doing, but playing around with the pieces kind of was giving me different ideas. I had to rein myself in and say, stay focused, Christine, or you're going to be here all night. So now I'm just cutting them in 2, removing the top and the bottom, like cutting that in the middle. And I'm just going to cut them apart, and then you will begin to see how I'm laying it out. So this is how I'm laying it out. Or this is how I want it to lay out. I flip the piece that I cut in 2, piece at the bottom, piece at the top, and then the other 2 pieces are going to be going at the sides. So now that I've removed all the pieces that I don't want, and I'm now left with the pieces that I want to use, I went in and further trimmed off the edges and the ends. I'm just kind of showing you that the piece that has the stake on it was kind of different, so I had to separate them. I couldn't just flip one and put it at the top because it was a little bit longer. So I had to cut the top piece off that didn't have the stake and join the 2 pieces that had the stake. So when I was done, this is how I wanted it to look. I'm actually making a wall decor piece. So after I separated all the pieces, I took the sanding block and I'm now sanding off the very rough edges to just make them a little bit smoother. So now I'm going to be connecting them. I took a piece of the little sides that I had trimmed off, and I'm going to use that to connect the 2 pieces. So I just added some hot glue and put that in the middle to connect them. Now guys, these pieces were not easy to glue together. Luckily for the middle piece, I was able to use that extra piece to connect both pieces, but the piece at the sides and the pieces at the top, it was not that easy. I tried using the zip ties and that didn't work. Eventually I got it done, and you'll see. There I tried to use another little piece to connect those. And I'm going to be very honest with you, I love seeing the fences used in different ways for different DIYs, but this is my first time using one, and it wasn't easy, especially when you cut apart the pieces and trying to glue them back together. That part is hard. If you're just gonna cut them off and use them as is, that's a breeze. But to separate them like this and then try to connect them back together, nah, not easy at all. There I tried to use the zip tie. The zip tie kept breaking. I'm like, what is this? But then I remember that I've had this pack of zip ties for like maybe a couple of years. So yeah, dry rot. But I do have some very fun Dollar Tree fence ideas that I may get into sometime later on. So now that I was done struggling with that, this is what it looks like when I glued all the pieces together. So next I am going to trace out my design. So I took a piece of brown paper and I'm just using the ruler and the pencil to give me the length from the top to the bottom of the design. And this is going to be then transferred onto a piece of foam board. So I placed the design on the line that I drew just to get the center. And then I took the pencil and I'm just kind of eyeballing about an inch from the top and then creating my design going around the sign. So that line in the middle is going to be my center. So after I finished tracing, I folded it in two. And that also is to ensure that I get an even piece. So I'm just eyeballing the lines that I just drew in and then I'm going to cut around that. And to give me an even spacing, I am adding an extra 1 inch. So I'm just going around with the ruler and the pencil and just making little slots or dots where that 1 inch mark is. So next I took a piece of foam board, taped down my stencil or my design on top of that, and then traced that out. And then flipped it over, or flipped the design over and traced the other side and then cut that out. So here it is all cut out. So while I was cutting, I forgot that I did not need to cut the center to cut down the middle of the stencil. And I did that on the foam board, so I had to use a piece of masking tape to rejoin it. So now I'm placing the design on the foam, and if you notice I have probably about 2 inches more on this each side. So I'm going to cut down the stencil, cut off that extra 1 inch that I had applied, and then place it back on, and then gonna trim that off the foam as well. So this is what it looks like after I remove the excess. Now I'm going to be taking a piece of this mirror reflective paper. I got this from Amazon even long before I started my channel. I put the stencil down and I realized that the paper is not wide enough. So I will have to join this using another piece in the middle. But anyway, I measured off what I wanted, and to get the folds out or to get it to curl the other direction, I'm just rolling it in the opposite direction, and then I'm going to place the stencil down and trace that out and then cut that out. And I'm going to do 2 pieces and then use an extra piece to join the middle. Now that they are all cut out, and because it's still curly, I'm fighting with it. But to fix that, I just tape down the ends. And the mirror reflective paper, well, it's actually called gloss chrome silver vinyl. Yeah, I'll link that in my Amazon store. You can check that out if this is something you're interested in. But it has a light film on top of it that you would have to peel that off to actually get the true reflection of the paper. And that was proving very difficult for me to trim off or to find just a little opening so I could peel it off. So I just gave up and left it alone. So here I'm ready to remove the adhesive at the back. So I just glue down the tip of it, and then lift it and just peel off the adhesive and smooth it out with my hand as I go all the way down to the end. And I did that for the other side. And this is where I said that I needed to cut another piece to join the middle. So I did that off camera. So now we're ready to glue our fence pieces down. So I just laid it down on the surface, made sure that it was lining up evenly. And to get another design in the middle, here I'm just trying to figure out how I'm going to place this and how best it looked. And if I was to remove the film from the adhesive or from the gloss, I would have to do that before I actually glue down my pieces. So here you can see it doesn't look all that mirror-y, or mirror-y, or is that a word? It doesn't look like a mirror here because it still has that light film on it. But then before I glue the pieces on, I said, you know, it's too stark. I don't really want the border to be white. So I took some antique wax on a baby wipe and just wiped that on. And it still needed a little bit more jazzing up or embellishing. So I took the marker, is it the furniture marker, and just did some arbitrary, random design on the border. And because it was still a little damp from the baby wipe, it was a little difficult getting my marks on. And then when that dried, I took some Mod Podge on a sponge and went over that to just seal everything in and give it a little glossy finish. And then when that dried, now I was ready to glue on my fence pieces. So I laid them back out, made sure I have them even, and then I glued them down using some hot glue as well as fix-it-all glue. If you are new to my channel or coming over from the playlist, welcome. I'm so happy you joined me today. Here on my channel, I do DIYs on a budget, dupes, look for less, and thrift flips. If you love budget-friendly DIYs like these and you have not yet subscribed, please consider subscribing and be sure to hit that notification bell. Hit it again and select all so YouTube notifies you whenever I upload new videos. Next, to get rid of the white edge around the border, I just took the same furniture marker and just went around the border to color that in. And to add further embellishment, I took these gemstones. I've had this in my stash forever. And I just paste them on at different points where the fence connected. They're adhesive, but I glued them on with the hot glue nonetheless, just to make sure that they don't fall off. I then took the paint pen and painted them black. I found this mirror in my stash, so I glued that on with the hot glue, a lot of hot glue, and this completes this project. Let me know what you think about this, guys. Now onto the Just Our Imagination Challenge. This is hosted monthly by Brenda from Rustic and Lace DIY, Kathy Jo from Kathy Jo DIYs, and this month our guest host, who was the winner for last month, is Jackie from Jackie Burns Creation. So for this month, we were challenged to use from plastic fences from Dollar Tree, a plunger, and stamps. Links to the playlist as well as the host channels, that's Brenda, Kathy Jo, and Jackie, will be down in the description box below. I will also link that under the video for easy reference. Alright, so for my imagination number 2, I'll be using the plunger as well as the rubber stamp, plus the full list of everything else that I used for this DIY. I took the plunger and I just cut off the top part. I left about 3 inches. I'll be using a piece of this Dollar Tree sign. I'm going to remove the cord and the staples. I only need 1 piece. I set that aside for a bit and now I'm about to work on the stand. So I grabbed 10 of the tumbling tower blocks and this is how I'll be gluing them together. So I use a little hot glue as well as a little wood glue and just putting them together. You want to make sure that they are straight. So that's why I'm using the L square to guide me. And here I did 2 sets and that's where I added the 2 at the top because I realized that it was a little bit too short with the plunger and the piece of 3-inch wood inside. So I took some Waverly Antique Wax and I watered down the wood glue and to give me the solution or a mixture, and I'm applying that to the board. Both the Stain It and the wood glue would add an extra layer of adhesion. So I set the frames aside and I'm now back to work on the base. So I took a piece of cord and I want to find the center of the board. So I use a cord, measured this piece from one end to the next, then folded that in the middle and use a paint pen to mark. And then I just made an impression of that on the board, and that gave me the center. I then took the stick and placed that in the middle, and this is how I found the middle of where I needed to put the nail. So I took a 2-inch nail and I'm gonna nail that in, and that is going to connect the top piece of the pole, as you see in the right corner. So I took my little handy dandy hammer and started nailing, and then completed the nailing off camera. I had to do another frame, and that's why you need 36 tumbling tower blocks, and I stained that. And now I took the wood glue, applying the wood glue and the hot glue, and I think I put a little bit too much glue. And I also applied glue to the top where I shouldn't, so you'll see me wipe that off in a second. Better to have too much than too little, right? It helps to keep the project sturdy. My brain took a leave of absence right here because I didn't realize that I shouldn't have put anything at the top there. But anyway, so I then took the two sides and fastened those together, held them in place for a little bit until the hot glue set, and then took the sponge and wiped off the top, this glue from the top there. So here I'm just testing it out to see how it will look when I assembled it. I diluted some of the black ink paint and used a sponge to apply that. And when you're applying paint to plastic, you want to allow the paint to dry a little bit before you go over it, because if you don't, then it's gonna remove what you just put on. And dab it on rather than wipe it on. And I did that for all the pieces, and now it's dry, and now I'm ready to assemble. But before I assemble, this is where the foam board came in. I measured and cut that down, and this is where my rubber stamp comes in. I got these from a thrift store last year, and they each were $1. So I'm using the one with the tassel, and I'm applying the ink. I got this ink pad from Temu, so I'm just applying the ink on the stamp and using that as my impression. I thought about putting a saying on there regarding toilet paper or something, but my brain wasn't at that point, so I just did not push it. I love the impression from this stamp. It's very clear, but as you can see, they are new stamps. They haven't been used yet. I was going to do another DIY using the stamps in another way, but I never had the time, and I just decided to use it on here. Next, I took the black paint pen and just painted in the border or the edge of the panel, and then took the gold pen and went over the streamers just to highlight them. If this is your first time to my channel, I thank you so much for stopping by. I really hope that you consider subscribing. And also don't forget to check out the host channels and the playlist down below. I can't wait to see what they come up with. So now I set that aside and I'm ready to glue the plunger to the base. So I just put that back in there, and I'm going to use a lot of hot glue, because what is really going to hold the two pieces together, the top and the bottom, is the glue between the two, where the two spots meet, as well as where the base meets the top square piece of wood there. And I'm just using wood glue and hot glue again for longer lasting hold and quick hold. And then I just placed the top piece on top of that, held it in place for a little bit while it set. Now this part, if you want to leave this part open, you can, but I thought that it needed something else to just hide that piece, the plunger piece inside. My husband saw this and was asking, what is that? I'm like, this is no longer a plunger. So I took 4 of these gemstones from Dollar Tree. Use the gold marker to just color them. Blast them with a little heat to dry them. And then glue them on. And this gold is just to tie in with the gold that I placed on the streamers. And this is it, guys. Let me know what you think about this. Well, I actually took it outside and sprayed it with some Mod Podge spray. But now we're here for the final reveal. Guys, let me know what you think about these 2 challenged items that I used for my wall decor. This is hanging at the top of the staircase. I'm in the process of redecorating my guest bathroom, so I just placed this in there for the time being. It was definitely fun making this piece. I'm going to be recreating another one and use this as a template because it was fun. To follow me on social media, you can scan this QR code to my Linktree address, and there you will find all the platforms to reach. I want to thank Brenda and Kathy Jo for hosting this amazing challenge. It challenges us every month to think outside of the box. Don't forget to check out their channels as well as the playlist. Why that looks so lean? Yes, it is lean. Let me go fix that now. If you love budget-friendly content like this one and you have not yet subscribed, do so before you leave. And check out this video right here, or to binge watch even more, this playlist, and I'll catch you in my next one. Bye!